Well, first and foremost, Larissa, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So you look, when you were messing with the camera, I could see like your arms. You look super lean. So like, how close are you to the show day?
So we are entering into peak week. The show's on Friday.
Hmm. What show are you doing for those who don't know?
I'm doing I don't even know what it's called. It's the Nationals,
Hmm.
NPC Nationals.
Got it, got it. Sorry, your goal here is to get your pro card.
Yes. Do I have expectations? No.
Hmm.
So this is my second year competing.
Yeah,
I competed last year for the first time. So just to be able to like step on this bigger stage is like enough for me. Of course,
mm.
I'd want to win, but
Right, right. Yeah, that's it's tough because there's so many. I just had an episode with another wellness competitor recently yesterday, and she was just saying the NPC level. There's so many competitors. Like it's outrageous. And then you don't a lot of times you don't know who's competing. Like pro is a little bit ironically pro is a little bit easier because it's like the shows that you're going to as a pro, a lot of times you already know like who the names are, who the girls are,
Mhm.
who the competitors are, so you can kind of gauge it. But with NPC, it's kind of like a free for all. So.
Yeah, it's definitely about who shows up.
Hmm.
I competed about 2 weeks ago. I did the Colorado Rocky.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with that show?
No.
So basically, it was the biggest show that we've had here in Colorado. There was
Hmm.
30 some wellness girls, and I took the overall for that. And
That's
that for
huge.
me was like the entire time during prep, I'm like looking at the tags, looking at who's gonna be showing up, and then there's still girls that show up that you're like, I didn't even see this girl,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're backstage and you're just like, wow, she looks so good. She looks amazing. Look at her butt. So
So you took the overall at that show
I did.
as many competitors. Well, that's got to give you some confidence going into these nationals. I mean, it's a big show, 30 competitors. How many are you expecting at the nationals?
I don't know. I was told to stay off of social media and to do that again, coach's orders.
Uh huh.
So I'm really just laser focused, head down, working, bringing the
Hmm.
best that I can.
Yeah. What did you? And this might be too close together to like these two shows being too close together for you to answer this like realistically. But like, what did you work on from the Colorado show to this one?
We really didn't want to change much. We wanted to come in just a little bit leaner.
Hmm.
And I think that we've already accomplished that. So I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't get judges' feedback yet,
Mm.
so
As
I got
far,
two.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got two of their feedbacks, and theirs was kind of like the same. They're like, I really wouldn't change much.
Yeah.
Um, so I think my coach knows what he's doing there.
Yeah. It's and wellness is tough too because like most divisions are kind of like established already, and wellness there's it's like because it's such a new division, there's like just influx of people that are jumping into it. They're coming up from different divisions and down from other divisions. And so what did you compete in another division before wellness, or you just started off with wellness?
Yeah, so I originally started bodybuilding about 5 years ago, like
Hmm.
serious, had a coach, training, nutrition.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to compete. I wasn't in love with the figure look,
Hmm.
but I knew I held too much muscle for the bikini look. So once wellness came in, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like that is what I want to do. I'm gonna prep for doing that specifically. And even now, I almost feel like I hold a little bit too much muscle on like my shoulders.
Hmm.
If I could bring up my lower half, I think it would balance it out.
So
But
speak. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just think like with each year, wellness is developing. And I don't know if it's a good thing
Hmm.
because I feel like they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like we're teetering that line, especially in like the Olympic era.
Yeah, yeah. That topic comes up a lot. It's come up with like almost every podcast that I've had.
Has it?
Yeah, it's not just in wellness, but all over, but wellness included. That you know how people view and feel that all the divisions are just getting harder and bigger, and what can be done about it. I mean, most people that I've talked to as far as wellness have kind of liked the fact that Fran is the champ because it kind of sets like, I don't want to say softer is not the right word, but like a more a less harder, like bigger
Feminine.
look, more feminine look. Yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
good way of saying it. But like a lot of girls below her that are not that far off don't quite look like her. So it's like as soon as she, you know, for whatever reason is not going to be in that place, it's everybody wonders like who's going to be there. Who's going to be the new, look that they're going to, try to emulate. So what do you
I
think?
agree. And I haven't been keeping up with like who's next in line per
Mhm.
se. Issa has been like one of my favorites. Yari, I mean, she's one of those that looks amazing on Instagram. And I mean, she looks
Mhm.
amazing in person too, but like on
Right.
stage, she just holds that harder look that
Mhm.
I feel like they shouldn't be going for.
Yeah.
Um, and then Sunny, I mean, she has an insane physique. It just looks a little like the proportions are a little crazy for me.
Yeah, like Sunny, I saw, and I haven't seen her page or her pictures in a while, but I remember when I did, it was like wild. Like you said, her proportions are wild. Like I'm like, I
Almost
don't
too
know.
much.
Yeah, it's like it's a weird thing because it's like you can't say that she doesn't look good because that's not the right word. But it's almost like it doesn't quite fit, And so yeah, that's tricky. It's tricky. I do think they got when they put Fran in first place, I think they got it right. But now I'm kind of like, well, most people think she'll probably take it this year. Again, Issa is, probably right on her heels, especially with her winning Arnold, and but
Mm-hmm.
it's a real interesting time because you'll have girls now that also are coming, like they almost have like bodybuilder type of legs, but they're in wellness, so it's like it's a strange like combination.
Teetering. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get? And I don't know if you mentioned it, and I missed it, but how did you get into bodybuilding in general? Were you like always into fitness and training?
I would say so. It started at a pretty young age. I played soccer. My parents put me in
Mhm.
soccer when I was like 6. And then in high school, I just remember like always going on runs and then always going to the gym and hitting like biceps or
Mhm.
something. So I never really like knew what I was doing. And then it wasn't until I met my husband
Mhm.
in 2016. He had competed in 2015. And he was like, hey, like, you have some good genetics. Like, we should look into getting you a coach and
Mhm.
taking this serious. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. And I went through a few coaches until I found the one that I currently have. I work with Austin Stout, and I won't leave him. Like, he has transformed my physique and he puts my health first. Like,
Mhm. Yeah,
Definitely.
your husband decided he didn't want to coach you. It was a conflict of interest.
Yeah, we've tried that. We can't. He can't train me either.
Oh yeah, it's why are you like, and I'm just strictly throwing darts in, in the dark, but
Whatever
are,
you're gonna say, the answer is probably yes.
yeah, I just know it's like anytime like if I try to tell my wife or try to train my wife, it like never quite is received the right way. So I'm like, you know what, it's probably not for the best. So
Yeah, I
time to step
appreciate
back.
like his words or his
Mhm.
feedback, but that's it.
So how difficult was it to, to find a good coach? Like what kind of things did you run into? Just
So I feel like consultations are huge with finding coaches. I worked with someone who was really big on like affirmations and, really grounding yourself and finding that inner peace. And that just didn't work for me. Austin's very straightforward. Like I said, he puts my health first
mhm.
and he makes that like a true point. And let's say I step off stage next month and 4 months later I want to step on stage again. Like he'll be like, yeah, no, you're funny. That's not what we're doing here. So I just love how like blunt, brutally honest he is, and he's probably one of the smartest guys I know. Like really
Mhm.
look at their background and like what their knowledge is in. I feel like a lot of people will go and look at their past competitors, which is not necessarily how you
Right.
find it.
Yeah, it's not necessarily indicative of how good the coach is, just because there's so many variables to go into, like, your competitors. Like, if your competitors did well, that doesn't necessarily mean that the coach was the direct reason of them doing well. So if you just base it on that, you can really, like, not pick a good coach for you. It's it's tough. I noticed what you said about health. That's so big. That's such a big thing, because bodybuilding innately can, become unhealthy if not kept in check. And if you've got a coach that, you know, like, there has to be a balance between him wanting you to win and having like a great physique, to you, being healthy and having longevity, and it's, if he's pushing too hard on the one, the other part, like the health part, like tends to suffer. And, it's that's tough when you have to deal with a coach like that.
Yeah, and like a big red flag was like if I'd go to sign up with someone or like talk about signing up with them, if they're like pushing protocol on you,
Mm-hmm.
run.
Yeah.
If they're not asking for like some blood work or if you've had any like issues in the past, run.
Right.
um,
Well,
because
yeah,
yeah,
that makes, go ahead, I'm sorry. Hmm.
you want to start on a nice, clean, healthy slate, and if it's not there, then and that's another thing. Like people think that they can get with the coach and jump onto stage. Like my coach is like, all right, I have to see how your body responds to things first
Hmm.
before we dive into that.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever like PEDs, or like the nut, like they start like throwing PEDs at you as soon as you sign up, that's no good. You're like you said, run, because that's a, like, I was listening to somebody who talked about Chris Cito. I don't know. Are you aware of who that is? He's a
I'm not.
he's a very, very famous coach, guru. He helped Jay Cutler for several of his Olympia championships, and so they were saying like how interesting he was, because you would think like dealing with people like Jay Cutler and all these big bodybuilders that his focus would be on like on the PEDs, but in reality it's like the least thing that he talks about, if at all, you know. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to me, like, but you know, he does well, he's, you know, he's well acclaimed. So you know, it just goes to show you that it's like it's not, you know, it's not all about that. There has to be other things, there has to be a base, you know, to that. So and it's like if you have a coach that's the only thing that they're concerned about, you know, that they're just pushing you with PEDs and trying to, you know, move you up that way, like that's just not a good thing. So
Yeah, and another thing with that, like finding the right coach is like professionalism. Like, you hear about all these scandals that happen with like coaches and
yes.
clients. So he is extremely professional, and I can tell him literally anything. Like, I trust him with anything. And if I screw up, like, he'd be the first one to know about it. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's super important too.
Yeah, that's I was going to ask you about that earlier, like I'm trying to put it in the most appropriate way. So like being a female, you know, in this kind of industry, and since you mentioned that about being professional, you know, having coaches that are professional and scandals, just recently I was reading something about it's just been an uproar of like women coming out saying that there've been some like really like inappropriate dealings with like high level coaches and stuff like that. Um, you know, one, like, have you read into anything like that? And then two, like, is there any advice that you would, you know, give to girls that are getting into this industry? Because a lot of times, like, the girls that get into it are fairly young, you know, we're talking like 18, 19 years old sometimes, you know, so.
Yeah, and I mean, you're sending photos in nearly nothing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if your coach is like, hey, um, like take your top off from like the back shot, like there's no need to have to do that in any way. And you need to address that problem and like move on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never, I mean, another red flag to me is like when people would come up to me and kind of like, hey, I'm a coach, I see potential in you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like, I'd rather do my research and find a coach or get recommended a coach. Typically, the good ones aren't really out there fishing for it.
Right.
I would
Right.
kind of avoid anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's a
It's
pretty,
tough.
it's a
Go.
vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
The relationship you develop.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like because it's like the sport itself is all about like your physique and your body and the way you look. It's like there's certain things that just kind of come with it, but like you said, like there's red flags, and it's like you really, what I was going to say is, it sounds like you do, of course, but you really have to have like a good head on your shoulders and not be so, I don't know if gullible is the right word, but like don't get so excited and so,
Oblivious.
yeah, or oblivious, yeah, is a good term. Is just don't get so excited about the prospect of competing and doing well that you miss these things that are like, you know, coming down the line, like these flags that are, you know, that a coach might be showing you, because at the end, you know, you could really run into some real issues. I was listening to a podcast on Dave Palumbo's site, and he was just saying there was really no real reason for a coach to ask a girl for like anything that's beyond what she would be wearing on stage. So it's like, you know, there's no reason to go any less than that, because that's what you're going to be wearing on stage. That's the only thing that matters, you know. So that's another red flag, I guess you could say.
Absolutely.
Mm. How did your prep go for this show? Like, did you do anything different? Did you know? How was your training? How was your eating?
So I have been on prep since mid-June,
Hmm.
and we're now end of November. That's a long time. Nice and slow and steady,
Hmm.
but my cardio got up to about an hour a day. We're down to 40 minutes right now. My carbs, those were in and out.
Hmm.
Fats were pretty low, is the same. Um, Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. One
No,
second.
no worries. No worries. You're very popular. So.
um, Training, off season, we pushed pretty hard, and I think we definitely made improvements
Hmm.
from my last show. I want to say we put on about 3 to 4 pounds, which sounds like nothing because a lot of these girls are putting on like 10 to 15.
10 to 15 pounds? That's
Yes.
that's a lot.
I follow so many girls and they're like, yeah, I put on like 10 pounds this off season or
Oh,
going into their on season, like
uh-huh.
stage weight, they put on 10 pounds. I'm like, holy cow.
Now I would be a little suspect because I'm kind of like, are those like quality 10 pounds or is this like,
I mean, it looks like it's quality 10
okay,
pounds.
okay,
I'm
okay.
telling you, I know a few girls and I'm like, okay, you have some really good genetics or
Yeah,
something.
or something. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd say we put on about like 3 to 4 because I was definitely leaner than I was last year and my weight was up. So
Where did
whatever you
you
call that.
where did you put it on? Can you tell?
I would say my lower half. I don't know
Mhm.
if you can like attach photos, but I do have like like my first show in August of 2021 and then
Mhm.
my show in November of 22.
And you so you grew in your legs mainly?
Yeah, it's a pretty noticeable difference.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I mean that's where you need it, right? In wellness, like that's what you're looking for. Did you lift heavier, or did you just eat more in the off season? Like, how did you, how did you get that weight on
Training was
there?
definitely a bigger aspect. I was pushing myself more. I had more leg days.
Hmm.
My upper body days for shoulders, I don't pick up anything heavier than a 5. Literally, I'm like, go in there, get a pump, done. And then back was pretty minimal too. I feel like they were already pretty developed. Like I said beforehand, I was in the gym just throwing around weight, not even knowing what I was doing.
Well, I'm looking at your shoulders right now, and like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're not like they're underdeveloped or anything like that. So I guess the 5 pounds are working.
Yeah. Yeah, we go in there, we get a pump. And then biceps too. Like I don't know what it is, but
Hmm. It's a
I must be
genetic
gotten it
thing.
from my
Yeah.
dad. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be a genetic thing because most people would like if they were doing what you're doing, they would not develop at all. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So
Thank you. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
really hit like upper body is like a quick in and out for me. Um, Glutes, I was not blessed in that aspect. So I worked really hard to build my glutes. I think my upper glute still needs a lot of work.
Hmm.
And I mean, we'll see where that gets me. But
Yeah.
tie ins, those came in pretty good.
Hmm.
So we did push food. I think I got up to like 138, 139 was like my top weight on off season.
Hmm.
Right now I'm about 115.
It's amazing how like size can be so like it's such an illusion because like I would not think you're that low of weight like 115, but because you're so lean and you can see the muscle bellies and everything, and that's wild that you're only 115 pounds. So do you have like a goal, like you're like, hey, at my best I want to be like this weight, or do you even care about weight at all?
I personally don't care
Hmm.
about weight too much. We still measure it and use it as a tool.
Yeah.
I like to go off of like the photos,
Hmm.
but personally, like it scares me because I see girls that are my size and they're stepping on stage in like the 130s. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
How tall are you, if you don't mind me asking?
5'1".
Oh, you're only 5'1".
I'm
Oh
calm.
yeah. You're
I'm
what?
little.
Yeah, yeah, you're only 5'1". Wow. Yeah, that's a 5'1". If you're like 5'1", 130, like you're saying some of these girls are, that's a, that's a that's a that's a big girl, in obviously in a good way when they're on stage. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's a lot of weight for a person who's only 5'1".
And I've told like people tell me like, hey, like, like your size, you're not going to be the biggest on stage, but you have good shape.
Hmm.
So as long as I have one of those things going for me, I've got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I think it's a good, it's not as detrimental in like the female divisions that are softer, or they're looking for more feminine looks. Obviously if you're like in female, like women's physique, or women's bodybuilding, that's like a different ball game. But if you're talking about
Mhm.
like like bikini figure wellness, then structure plays much more of a bigger like bigger point or a bigger part of than just being like a bigger person. Like that doesn't necessarily, because I mean Fran isn't the biggest girl on
Yeah.
the stage, but she, her structure is incredible. So
Her structure, her presentation, which presentation is something I'd like to touch on. Like,
hmm
go find someone that inspires you, that you're like, oh my gosh, her posing or presentation, and like work with them. Like, I did that. Are you familiar with Alexis?
I am. Is that which, so what's her last name? Do you remember? As a couple
Um,
Alexis are coming to mind. Is she a nurse?
yes.
Yes, yeah. I had her on the show a while back. Yeah,
Okay.
very familiar
Yes.
with her.
So that's my posing coach. And I remember she had just like, she was doing like bikini and then did a wellness show. And I just started following her.
Hmm.
And she had done like pageants and stuff prior. So she was very comfortable on stage. But I love the way she moved. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, she's doing posing classes. And I'm still working with her today. Like, she will be at my national show in
That's
next week.
awesome.
And we get to
That's
meet in person. So I'm super
that,
excited.
yeah, that's awesome. I haven't talked to her in like face to face like this in a while, since we did the show, but we message back and forth, and yeah, she's a very nice girl, nice person, and she knows her stuff. So
Mhm.
that's the important thing. So yeah, for sure.
Also a pro now. So
Oh
so happy.
yeah, yeah. And and posing is such an important part too of like any division, because you can have a great physique, but if you don't know how to show it right, it can really like hurt your placings. So
Absolutely. And if you lack that confidence, like anytime I pose with her, she's like, okay, Beyonce, you are Beyonce, go. And I'm like, okay, I got
yeah,
this.
it's hard. It's
It
hard.
helps.
Yeah, it's hard when you don't like, when you're not that kind of person. It like, just from your personality. Like
Yeah.
I tend to be like a low key person. So something like that for me would be kind of hard. I would have to come out of my shell a little bit. I don't know about you. Like, are you kind of low key as well, or?
I definitely am. I don't like public speaking. Um, Super shy. I'm not very confident. So doing
Mhm.
the sport is honestly weird when people hear like, you do what and you wear what? Like,
Yeah, well, I mean,
okay.
that's what it's about, because you're pushing yourself like out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow, like as in the sport itself, but also just as a person, right? So like
Mhm.
now, doing this sport and getting out of your comfort zone will, maybe in the future when other things come up, it'll be easier for you to do that. So yeah,
Absolutely.
For sure. So you're going to, this national show. Whatever happens, happens. What are your plans like post show? Like, let's say that you'll still need another year, like for your, to get your pro card. Just, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but let's just for the
In
sakes.
reality, like that's honestly what I'm
Hmm.
expecting. And like I said, just being able to step on a national show is like it's enough for me.
Hmm.
I just want to see like where I place, and then going off of judges' feedback, then
Hmm.
I'll get back with my coach on a drawing board and see if we need maybe even 2 years off to grow, you know?
Yeah. So that was going to be my question. So you're willing to take a considerable amount of time to grow.
Absolutely. And like this sport, nothing happens overnight.
Hmm.
So, and I understand that
Yeah,
whatever it takes, like the next time I step on a national stage, I want to be more confident than I am right now.
sure.
Right now, it's just kind of to see like where I sit.
Right, right. Where you place. Yeah. Wouldn't it be awesome or interesting if you place a lot higher than you expect? And then, that's going to probably change your outlook a little bit. Then you might be like, hey, next year is it. Forget 2 years. I'm gonna really like push it. So, hmm, it's exciting.
It is, and like I said, it's a conversation that my coach and I will have together. I've also been looking at training with someone here in Colorado.
Hmm.
So having him work my training and then having Austin work my nutrition because he's not in the state. He's actually out of Ohio and I'm in
Right,
Colorado.
right. Yeah. Are you right now? How are you training? Are you like by yourself? Is your husband like your partner, or how does that work for you?
For the past, I was training with someone, but I would say for the past 3 months, I've been on my own.
Hmm.
And that's just because my work schedule is crazy and my workouts are different and I have to stay. And right now it's really just going in there, getting blood to the muscle and getting out.
Yeah. So you don't stay in the gym for too long.
No.
Yeah. What do you, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work?
I am security forces for the Air Force.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, interesting. So, what kind of schedule does that give you? Like, go ahead.
Ooh. So I work 4 days on. I get 3 days off,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. I do a lot of like extra volunteer and just other things. So
Mm-hmm.
really, I'm in there almost every day. But I do work like 10 to 12 to 14-hour shifts.
Whew, that's
So
rough.
yeah, I mean, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I typically don't get to bed around 10:30, which is not ideal when you're a
Oh,
bodybuilder
that's rough. That's
because you
rough.
need your sleep. So it's definitely affected recovery. And when you have to take check-ins, I mean, you're waking up at 2:45, you know?
Yeah. That's making me hurt just thinking about like getting up that early and going to bed that late.
But when people say, like, I don't know how you do it, like, it's possible. Like, if I can do it, you can do it.
Right, right. Yeah. It's almost like you know, you can accomplish anything. You just have to kind of put your mind. I know it sounds like really corny, but it's, if you just kind of set your mind to it and just don't allow yourself an option out, right? Like you don't have an out. Like there is no out. Like you that's your work schedule. You're not it's not like you're not going to work. So it's like either you make it work or you don't bodybuild. And so, you made a choice. So, yeah.
And I do have help. Thankfully, my husband, like, he's like, hey, he's on it, like, with my meals most of the time. He's a police officer as well. So his
Mhm.
schedule is also crazy. But,
Sure. Sure.
like, without his support, I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be really, really hard. because
Yeah.
he,
Yeah, I used
he
to work for a police
well,
department here in Nashville, and yeah, it's like we just work crazy schedules. It's just it gets wild. My wife now just recently became a nurse herself, and so she's now getting used to that 12-hour, 13-hour shifts. So it's an adjustment for sure. So when do you train when you have these long days? Do you do it like in the morning when you wake up, or just before you go to bed?
after work.
Oh,
So
right after.
whatever that looks like. I always pack an extra meal just in case, not like extra out of my plan, but like
Hmm.
an extra meal um, in case we have a situation that happens. But typically, it's like I eat my meal, get to the gym, and then I'm eating my post workout meal on my way home. And I always do my cardio here at home.
Yeah. What do you do for cardio at home? Just you got a
I
machine or something?
walk.
Like walk around the place
No,
or
I have a treadmill upstairs.
mm, got it.
So we just do a 3 and 3 incline, 3 miles per hour.
Mm,
And that has been my cardio the entire time.
got it. Have you ever done like Stairmaster? What do you think about that?
I have done it. I would say it causes more inflammation in my legs.
Hmm. Like
So
like in a negative way.
correct. So we've found that steady state cardio
Hmm.
at that pace is what works best for me.
Yeah, I just listened to something where they said that Stairmaster can eat at your legs a little bit, eat the muscle at your legs a little bit. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, like how certain exercises will just like affect your physique, just depending on what the exercise is. It's like it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter that it's like they're all cardio. It's like what kind of cardio makes a difference. So it's
Mhm.
wild. Well, Larissa, thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you the best, yeah,
Thank
on
you.
your show. I'm sure you're gonna do great, and so can't wait to see you there and get the results for that. And I hope your peak week goes well too. That's important, right? You got to peak right. So.
Yeah. Appreciate that. And thank you for following.
Yeah, of course, of course. So let me ask you this. If somebody wanted to contact you for like more podcasts, or if they just had some questions about fitness and bodybuilding in general, like what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Definitely my Instagram.
Okay.
It's a mini underscore beast dot Danielle, I think.
Got it. Got it. Well, no worries because I'm going to go ahead and link everything at the bottom of this video so you'll have easy access to Larissa and her content. So thank you again, Larissa. You take care.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.